So when was I first diagnosed and when did I first find out that there was a problem? That was in 2009. I had just graduated high school. I was 18 years old, fresh out of the water, ready to go, have independence, away from parents. I had freedom. I could do whatever I wanted. The world was my oyster. And so I went to Chico State my first semester of college. And my first semester at Chico State, it was sort of just like a spellbound. I just went from 0 to 60. And mental illness runs in my family, and I've always suffered with depression. To go back in time a little bit, when I was 15, I had an incident that allowed me to experience an emotion that I'd never felt before, that emotion being clinical depression. And I began taking antidepressants at 15 and continued until I was a freshman in college. We're back at Chico State. So spellbound, going crazy, and then it came to this week in time that I'll never forget, where it just started getting really, really bad, and that tunnel just started closing like this, and the light just started getting smaller and smaller and smaller, but I kept getting larger and larger and larger in this tunnel. And so the day I went completely manic was the day that I spent my life savings, the day I put a down payment on a house that I could not afford, the day that I bought a car, the day that I dropped out of school, the day that I went up to a complete random stranger's house, knocked on the door, and handed him my precious electric ukulele and said, "Here you go, just take it, I don't want it anymore." Because I was going manic. I thought that I was on TV, I thought that the cameras were there, I thought, dude, I'll get it back later, I'll get it at the show. He's thinking, show? What show? Besides, Oprah Winfrey later on that I'm watching, he's thinking, what show? And it's just a show, I'll see you later, don't worry about it. So here this random stranger has my gorgeous, brand new electric ukulele, and I had no idea, because I was just that unstable, that out of control, and running around the streets trying to direct traffic, and all sorts of crazy things. If anyone has seen The Truman Show, I felt like I was Truman, and I thought that I was in a utopian sort of alternative world that was being controlled by people and directors, and everything was set up and contrived. So anyways, that wound me up in the hospital, and I spent 4 months there. And so my diagnosis, if I didn't mention, was bipolar disorder with clinical depression. My recovery started when I like to say it kind of started when I was first admitted. Although I was the lowest of the low, it's kind of like as soon as you're born, you start getting older, right? So as soon as I was admitted, that was when my recovery process began, although I didn't realize it at the time. So throughout my whole hospitalization, really trying to find who Amanda was again was the biggest challenge. And once I stopped going to outpatient after the few months after being discharged, when I could really start to just learn how to reintegrate myself back into society. So I think, it's hard to say what exactly led to my ultimate recovery. I think it's just a combination of a lot of things. Speaking, I think, was the biggest part, just opening up my arms to the public and saying, look, I'm open here, I'm gonna tell you what happened to me, because for the first 7 months or so, I was really embarrassed, I was really ashamed, I felt like it was branded on my forehead, bipolar, and I didn't think I was accepted, I didn't think that anyone would care. Going back and seeing my high school friends, I thought, what are they gonna think of me? I was the junior prom queen, I was the MVP, I was the this, I was the that, I was this average but cool girl, and then now I'm the crazy, insane, went to Chico, lost her mind, went to a hospital lunatic. And so I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, I can't have that impression, because how will I ever get a job? How will I ever be successful in society? How will I ever have a boyfriend? How will I ever have anything? So the recovery period was a long, arduous process, but I think finding my voice and working for NAMI was probably the biggest part of my recovery. As a college student now, and being a student in high school, and recognizing the symptoms and the early on stages of my mental illness, I think at first, when I first knew in my heart that I had bipolar disorder, was my junior year of high school. my senior year of high school, and I was reading in my textbook, and there was a really, really short chapter course on mental illness and what it meant, a really small definition of bipolar disorder. And it said, basically the definition of bipolar disorder, mania, depression. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's me. And I just thought, I'm always, because at school I was always really happy. Amanda's funny, she's always so conversational, blah, blah, blah. But then I'd get home and I would just, it was like this balloon shrinking to this shriveled, just piece of trash that I just couldn't even, it was just too much, and I would just sleep and be really tired and depressed, and I couldn't tell anyone. So that's when I first knew, but I didn't tell anyone. And then I had a couple soccer injuries throughout the year that really sort of triggered some other incidents, some more depression. It kind of just kept getting deeper and deeper, those holes. And if you don't have anyone helping you fill those holes in, you're doing it all on your own. And then went into college, and independence is great, yeah, but with that independence comes responsibility, emotional responsibility especially, taking accountability for your actions and your emotions. And if you feel a certain way, you can't hold it inside. You can't think that you're a burden to someone else. You can't think that you're going to bother someone. There is always enough time to tell someone how you feel. And if there isn't, they're stupid. And they should make that time. And whether it's your teacher, your staff, your friend, your family, just a stranger, anyone who's going to smile at you or give you the time of day, just tell someone. And I wish that I had spoken up earlier, because I think I could have avoided a lot of hardship with me and my family, because it didn't just affect me, it affected my whole family. And I learned the hard way that it's actually quite selfish to keep those really, really hard, boiling, bubbling feelings inside yourself, because those keep building up. They don't go away. I mean, if you scrape your knee, it's gonna hurt, but it's gonna scab over and it's gonna be fine. But emotional problems, they don't just scab away and you can't just pick them off. They're gonna be there until you deal with them, and until you learn how to deal with them and talk to people about them and find out what is going on, why you're feeling this way. Then you can figure out how to deal with it, and then what you can do from there. It's kind of like a target, like why is in the middle, and then how is the next circle, and then what. So in order to figure out what you can do, you need to know why, how you can voice it, and then what you can do to help yourself. And I think it's really important, especially in college, when you have the stress of school, expectations for yourself, from your family perhaps, job in 4 years, I have to provide for myself one day, a family perhaps. College is stressful, it's not easy, and independence makes it harder. It's fun, yeah, but it's really easy to get caught up in the partying, the drinking, and the drinking obviously doesn't help if you're depressed. And so I think it's really important to be vocal about it and not be afraid to talk to someone. And if they won't listen, find someone else who will listen, because there's plenty of people out there who will listen to you. The main reason that I'm a part of NAMI is because I was nominated to be on the board of directors, and I got elected about an hour ago, so I'm really excited about that. But I started out with NAMI doing In Our Own Voice and Ending the Silence, presenting to youth, high schools, and behavioral health clinics, and just bringing awareness, trying to eliminate the stigma behind mental illness that seems to be contagious, unfortunately, with youth these days. And my parents are really involved with NAMI as well, because NAMI served as a really huge stepping stone for our relationship and my friends' relationships, and really NAMI just really opened up my voice, and that's how I began with NAMI. Being a board member on NAMI California's board of directors, well, responsibilities, I'm not sure exactly what it will entail, but I know that my main focus is to be a voice and an advocate for youth that are so afraid and so ashamed and embarrassed to speak up about their mental illness, as I was at one time too. And it is my dream and my hope and my passion to open up those avenues and those doors for them, to allow them to feel that they do have a voice, they do have a heart and a mind that is so special and so amazing, and they should speak up and they should talk about their condition. And it's really not an illness, it's something that, it's a gift, it's a power, it's something that you can use to help others. And if used in the right way, it can really lead you down some amazing paths. It's kind of like, how I like to put it is, when I was really ill, and I was going completely off the wall. It's kind of like I felt like I was a superhero without a mission. And now, after working and volunteering for NAMI and becoming an advocate and finding my own voice, I've realized that I do have a mission and I do have a goal, and I hope that I can share that goal with others and they can find their super strength inside them to take their illness and turn it into a blessing and a power to use to help others and themselves be successful. I think that to help someone who is starting to feel those feelings and thinks there's something wrong, and how to reach out to them would be to, I think what I always do is I try to, it's hard for people to open up about their own personal story if they don't really have a foundation to build upon. So how I would usually go about it is I'll say, okay, look, I'll go first. Okay, so here's my problem, here's my story, this is the hardship that I've gone through, and here's the light at the end of the tunnel that I found. So therefore, how can I help you make that tunnel a little bit more manageable, that you can drive through it and you can see the outside and be relieved? So I think voicing your own story really opens up a lot of doors to people who are really willing to share, because everyone is directly or indirectly or some way affected by mental illness. And if they don't have a mental illness, we all get sad, we all have hardship. I mean, diagnosis or not, we all have issues. I mean, define normal, define mentally ill. You can't really define those things. I mean, and so I think that helping someone get through these problems is really just you allowing them to, it's kind of like that movie Pay It Forward. You know, once you make that initiative, people will start to follow and they'll go, wow, she's pretty cool and she's gone through all of this, so maybe I can do that too. Look, I have a problem too, let me tell you about it. And then people start talking and sharing, and that's how groups are formed and advocacy is made. And it's just so important to share and then educate. I think it's important to educate yourself and look up these problems. I found mine in a textbook in a physiology class in high school. A small definition this big, and that's what led me to the light bulb going off in my head. Oh my gosh, I have that. And my best friend at the time sitting next to me, I leaned to her, the only person I could tell anything to, and I said,